All right, hey there, Vanagon addicts. It's Ken Wilford here, Vanagon. It is currently 5 o'clock, and I am coming at you here live and direct from New Jersey on our Live at 5 broadcast. So I hope you guys can see it. I just had somebody try to call me a minute ago to, say that they were trying to watch our broadcast. And so hope you guys can. Yep, I mean, I can see it on our channel right now, so should be good to go. And let me open up the live chat here. If you guys are here, just go ahead and say hi to me in the chat. Appreciate you guys being here. After last week's broadcast, we had a guy named Mike Miller give us a $7 donation through PayPal. So I wanted to make a shout out to Mike. I appreciate that very much. You guys can donate through our PayPal link, which is at the bottom of our description of the video feed. And you can always, PayPal that way. You can also do it through the Super Chat, which is a live thing you can do. If you donate to us through the Super Chat, we will definitely, call out your name and say thanks and stuff during the broadcast. So we hope you guys are here. You got some Vanagon questions for us today. I'm just trying to adjust my camera a little bit so I can see how many viewers we got, and we definitely appreciate it. I got a thing from the Texas boys. It says, "Yo, bro," and I shout back at him, and hope he's having a good trip back to Texas today. He was visiting with me for a few days here, and so it was good to have him with us, and it's good to have you guys out here today. What was I going to talk about today? All right, guys. So I asked you guys the last few weeks, give me suggestions, things you want to talk about. Nobody has gave me any suggestions so far, so I had to keep coming up with things on my own. I guess, let's see here. Let me talk about the, I guess we'll talk about the Hawaii situation for a minute. So one of our guys, Billy Shepard, has been putting me in touch with a lady in Hawaii that rents Vanagons. So I'm going to maybe take a shout out to Heather here, and she has a Vanagon rental company in Hawaii. We talked about it a little bit last week. Let me go to her website, and you guys can see. Check that out real quick. It's called Maui Camper Van Rental. She actually rents out 2 hardtop vans, and she has them all kitted out with gear and different things like that. So let me go ahead and, oh my gosh, I hate this thing so bad. Let me go ahead and click over to that so you guys can take a look at her website. And, if you're going to Hawaii anyway, I mean, why not rent a Vanagon, right, and camp on the beach? I'm going to do the screen share thing here. Okay, we're doing that. Let me minimize this thing so it stops doing that. And you can check out her thing. It's called Maui Camper Van Rentals. In Hawaii, a lot of people come there to go surfing. I mean, of course, you guys know the Vanagon's like the perfect surf vehicle. And you can rent a Vanagon, camp on the beach. Somebody told us last week, as long as you put a fishing line in the water, you're good to go, and they won't harass you that way. So if you get a chance, go on and check out Heather's site here, MauiCamperVanRentals.com or CamperVanRental.com, and I'm sure she would definitely appreciate that. Okay. All right, so let me get back here to this. I can actually turn the thing back off. Oh my gosh, all right, this is the worst. All right, let me click this again. Boom. And it should go away. Okay, there we go. Now we're back to the regular. All right, so that's one thing I wanted to talk about a little bit this week. Another thing right now at my shop, we do have something most of you guys may have not seen before. It is called a Country Homes Conversion Vanagon. It's not a Westfalia. It's called a Country Homes. And it was made by a company in actually California, in Santa Cruz. They used to make these back in the 80s, and we have that for sale right now at our shop. The cool part about the Country Homes is it is based on GL Vanagon. So it's basically a 91 GL Vanagon that the center bench seat is missing, and they took it out and then they put in this cabinetry that has like a 12-volt 110 stove. It also has just a bunch of stuff that's like a Westie, similar, okay, but it's different. It's kind of like you're in Westie Bizarro world. So you have a sink, you have a water tank, you have a secondary battery. It's got a refrigerator. It's 110 and 12 volts. It's got a bunch of those things. It even has a propane tank. And you have a little stove on top. But the cool part about the Country Homes to me is that you can actually pull that cabinetry out. Okay, so if you're using it to camp and you're going to do extended camping, you pop this cabinetry in there and do a few hookups, and it's in. If you're decide, you're not going to be camping for several months or whatever, you can take the cabinetry out, set it in your garage, and now you have your floor space of your van back again. So the lady that owned it, she's a customer of mine since probably about 4 years ago, and she, decided she wanted to sell it, and so it's here right now. We're asking $19,000. You can see pictures of it on the Samba, and I might be doing a short video about it to like kind of show you guys the features of, what a Country Homes Vanagon camper is like. Like I said, it's kind of just a different take on it. What I've heard back in the day is that Westfalia used to, of course, they were the ones that made the Westie. But there were also these other companies like Country Homes. There was another one called ASI. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of those before, where they made these other conversions, and actually Westfalia would come and to take a look at some of their conversions. The reason why some of these conversions existed, besides the Westie, is that they sold out of Westies. Okay, so they would get Westies in, and the dealerships would just sell them all out, and they would all be gone. And then the next thing, they would be calling the Volkswagen, I need more Westies. I could sell as many Westies as you can send here. And the dealership was like, Volkswagen in Germany was like, this is all you get. Okay, you get nothing. You get this much. We control it, whatever. So these different companies, a lot of them started from Volkswagen dealerships. ASI, I think they were up in the Pacific Northwest. You had Country Homes. You had the high top one. I can't remember the name of it. I'm not seeing anybody. I don't know if my chat is not working properly or what is going on here, but I see 7 viewers, but nobody's chatting here besides one person. But these conversion vans were kind of born out of necessity. That Volkswagen wasn't supplying enough Westies for people, and so these dealerships were taking it into their own hands and making their own Westies, kind of, sort of, but they actually made some improvements on the Westies as well. They were rearranging the interiors. They were putting in like a furnace and different things like that. And Westfalia reps would come over and they would actually copy what some of these other companies were doing and put them into the Westfalia, into the Westfalia design. So it was kind of like feeding off of each other. You would have a Westfalia design, you would have, and these companies would somewhat copy that, but then kind of change it and tweak it here and there. And then Westfalia reps would come over and look at ASI campers or, Country Homes or whatever. The high top one that I can't remember the name of it, and no one will remind me of it because nobody's chatting with me. And so, they would, I keep thinking sports wagon, but that's not right. And so, it just fed off of each other. And so there's all kinds of cool little floor plans out there. There's all kinds of cool little ideas that were thrown around that, you get to see. We get to see these other different conversions besides just the Westfalia. I mean, even in Westfalia, we have right now, I have a couple full Westfalias here. I also have what they call the Wolfsburg Edition Westfalia that has no cabinetry in it, barely has one cabinet in the back. You have a full width rear seat. you have a rear-facing seat that is permanently fixed, and you have a pop top and a little table that comes out of the wall. It's kind of like a mixture of a Karat Vanagon and a full Westie. Okay, and so those ones are nice because they also had an ice box by the door, a 12-volt ice box you could remove. And so those are nice because you have all that floor space. You know, most people that have Westfalias, if they're just using them as an RV type thing, like just occasionally, a lot of times you don't use the camping stuff. You know, I know people had Westfalias, brought them here. The camping equipment still has the blue, it still has blue like plastic on it because it was never actually used. And so, you know, that's one of the things that's going on, that, you know, people use these things and they didn't actually ever really use them. So it's so weird. All right, so I'm trying to see what's going on with the chat here. I mean, we have the live stream going. Let me go onto my page itself. Maybe I can see the chat that way. Let me click on this. Okay, see if I can get in here and see something. Yeah, I mean, it says the stream status is doing good. And let me open Super Chat in a new window on my computer here. I have one guy, Dan, is trying to get on and send me messages and stuff, and he's having problems. So I'm not sure what's going on, Dan. You should be able to just, there's like a little box over to the right side that says chat. You should be able to just chat in there. So I don't know what is going on. It's just being weird today. You know, it's just the way it's been in YouTube the last several times I try to do this. Okay, good. I got a Remo tops, Windberg tops. No, I'm not talking about Remo. There was also some German versions too. Okay, so you have these American companies that are making like kind of mock Westfalias, and they also had German companies who are doing something similar, like Remo, like Carl mentions here. Remo made their own, I think, a high top that was fully high top. I talked about the Slow Dutchman last week, this Dutch couple that's traveling through Mexico right now, and they traveled through the U.S., and they had this weird pop top that's kind of like partially high top, partially not high top. It's like a pop top, but it's a high top too. That is a Remo. Okay, it's a company in Germany that, I guess maybe even in Germany they didn't have enough Westfalias to sell, so they would make their own kits. But I know there's also this other one here. Oh, Adventure Wagon. I could not remember the name of it. Adventure Wagon. And, you know, here's another one. These guys made a permanent high top camper. It had a refrigerator. It had a stove. It has it has a bed in the back. I think it has another bed up in the top. And the cabinetry inside was like the quality level of a boat, you know, like a cabin of a boat. Okay, so, you know, so there's all kinds of cool versions, or whatever you want to say, of Westfalias out there. I even saw this one. Let me see if I can get a picture of it here real quick for you guys. There's this guy here in Cherry Hill that's not far from me, and he is on Craigslist. And what he has got is, I'll bring it up here real quick. He has got a Syncro Doka that has a camper top on it. It's got to be German, a German camper. It's called a Road Ranger. I mean, there's no way that anybody here in the U.S. ever made a camper to go in the back of a Doka. I mean, it was a car that they never even sold here. They never sold the Dokas here, and we could go into that about why they never sold them here. But check this bad boy out. Now, here is a Doka, which is another term for a double cab truck. Okay, that they sold a lot in Europe. They sold them in Canada, and he's got this specially made camper thing on the back that's basically kind of like American pickup trucks, right, where they have a camper module on the back. I have no clue what this thing would ride like with that on back there. I'm assuming that it's definitely going to ride a little weird. It looks like it's made out of fiberglass, so maybe it's not that heavy. But I mean, you can check this thing out. It's kind of cool. It's got some Scottish Highlander plaid action going on the inside. It's got a AC unit. I mean, it looks like it's never been used. You know, this thing's probably like so ridiculously expensive and rare. I mean, the car itself and this camping thing, they're selling for $89,000 on Craigslist. You know, don't ask me how they think they're going to get that on Craigslist. I have no idea. I would love to go check this van out. It's in Cherry Hill, which is like an hour from me. I almost thought about going there to just record video of it for the channel. And you can even see that he's also has, besides his camper cab, he's got like this regular cab here that's, you know, for a cab like that, you know, like a pickup truck would have a cap. So yeah, I have no clue what the ride would be either, Carl. It's pretty crazy. But I mean, I just love these weird versions of this, you know, the Vanagon. I think this one also might be a diesel. You know, not totally sure. I guess I could look back through the cab again. But you can see some of the cool things here. And I mean, this thing, $89,000, that's a lot of money. I mean, I've never seen one of these before as far as with the camper top. So, you know, it's super rare. And you can see it's got a sink, it's got a 2-burner stove, it's got a refrigerator, it's got like a power thing down here. I mean, a bunch of different things are going on with this thing. Looks like a Dometic, looks like the same Dometic fridge they use in the Westies. I hope not, because they weren't that great. No, I guess it's a Water Boxer after all. I'm seeing Water Boxer stuff back there. So, but whatever. I'm sure that's got to be better than the diesel. They were pretty disgusting. All right, so so after I'm giving you this flight of fancy here, if anybody knows this guy, you know, definitely tell him he can drive down here and we can put this thing on YouTube. They can check it out and we can see how cool it is here in real life. Or maybe I'll just contact him after, you know, this thing's over and say, hey man, do you want to you know, have your vehicle be on YouTube? Okay, because it's just a pretty awesome looking vehicle. All right, so I do have some questions. We got Charles Ott. He says, can you comment on automatic transmission fluid for my 85 Westie? I'm thinking of synthetic, but I've seen mixed reviews. What do you think? Good question. Yeah, I never like to change things over to synthetic if they have been run on regular oil for a long time. It seems like whenever you do that, it makes things leak. Okay, so like if you have a motor that has a couple 100,000 miles on it, switching to synthetic, or even like 150,000, switching to synthetic, a lot of times it makes those things leak. It seems like, I don't know if the seals don't really like that when you switch. I know synthetic supposedly is thinner, gets around seals a little bit easier than regular oil. So, I mean, if it was me, you were getting like a rebuilt transmission from somewhere and you wanted to try synthetic in it from the get-go, I would say go for it. If you have an old tranny and you're thinking this is going to somehow make it work better, I would not do it because you're probably going to have some leaks. Okay, so I hope that helps you out. We also have, okay, Jack Paulus. Do you sell deep dumps? I don't know what that is. Are you talking about a sump? It says deep dumps. That sounds bad. I don't know what a deep dump would be. He has an 80 air-cooled Riviera. Okay, so again, a Riviera is like, I think, is an ASI conversion that we were talking about before. You know, so it's a, I had one. I actually had a 78, I think, Riviera at one time. And I believe the pop top pops straight up on those. And it's just an interesting conversion. The one I had was a Champagne edition. And I didn't really keep it that long. I bought it. I thought I was going to fix it up and make it nice. And I don't know. I've just never been super a bus person. So I had it for a short time and then I sold it. Okay. So a deep sump. maybe that goes under your engine block. I probably wouldn't have that. That's something that would be like an oil sump. Probably a Porsche shop might sell that, you know, specialty shop, because the 2.0 liter engine in a bus or a Vanagon is very similar to the 2.0 liter engine in a 914 Porsche. It's basically the exact same engine, except that there are some differences. So that's where I would look if you're looking to maybe get some supplemental oil supply going on, is to do that. All right, so I don't know if Dan is still watching. He's trying to have problems. He's trying to get involved in the super chat. I mean, other people are in here, so I'm assuming that it should let him in. All right, another thing I want to talk about, okay, is mirrors. Mirrors. Okay, guys, we talked about them a few times. The big expensive ones that you can vote on, and I would definitely love to sell you them. They're cool. You saw them on that Doka that I just showed you. They had them stock. Okay, so those mirrors are stock for Volkswagen trucks, Dokas and things, and they're nice on regular vans. But okay, if you have a van that was made from 80 to 85, you know what I'm talking about. You have these mirrors that are on there. Usually at this point, they're super worn out. Okay, you shut the door, it moves. You open the door, it moves. You drive down the road, you get it all set exactly the way you want it. Takes 2 people to set them because you got to do some stuff. And then as soon as you're driving down the road, 55 miles an hour, they move in. Okay, very frustrating. Okay, and for many years, Haggis made a replacement mirror. Everybody sold those. I hated them because they would never hold. Okay, you would get them, they seemed like the quality level was nice, but then you put them in and they would move all around. Okay, long time I sold the ones that were from the dealer because it seemed like they actually would hold, but they were extremely expensive. You know, each mirror was $75, $90, and they weren't really any that much better seeming quality than the Haggis mirrors, which were usually much more inexpensive. So finally they stopped selling the Haggis mirrors they stopped selling the dealer mirrors. They're gone. They're done. Okay, so I had to come up with something else. Of course, like I said, the mirrors, the truck mirrors I like a lot, but there is also another alternative. Let me go grab them for you, which is, again, these that I like, JP Group Classic Line mirrors. Okay, they actually seem to hold really well. They are not expensive. I think on our site they're $29 per mirror. Okay, you can see it right here. And you know, they're well-made mirrors. One of the things you'll notice when you get them is they're not as heavy as the Haggises, but they do seem to hold really well. And I think the thing is, partially is, you know, if you make them heavy, they have more momentum. So when you go to slam the door, if it's heavy, it's going to make it try to move because of the momentum. So they're a little bit lighter than the Haggis, but they're not cheesy. Okay, I've actually had ones that were made in like India or something before. I mean, they're like light as a feather because they're made out of nothing. Okay, so if you're looking for replacement mirrors, every 80 to 85 Vanagon in here that doesn't have mirrors, or has mirrors on it that haven't been replaced, are pretty much crap. Okay, I had a guy call me. So Dan, welcome to the chat. He finally made it. That's great. I'm glad you made it, man. Think of some questions for me. I had a guy call me this week. I have these crazy calls. Okay. Hey Ken, how you doing? I love your show. Appreciate what you're doing. I have a question. I'm like, okay, fine. What's the question? I'm in a junkyard and there's some non-power mirrors on an 86 Vanagon. Will they fit on my 80 Vanagon? I'm like, yes, they will. They never really made any different version of the non-power mirrors besides the truck ones, and they never sold them here. So I'm assuming he's looking at non-power mirrors. They're all the same, and they all have the 2 bolts, 2 Phillips heads to hold it to the door. So yeah, it definitely will fit. But I'm like, why would you buy them? These are used mirrors on 86. Most likely they're garbage. But he's like, well, I'm here. I'm at a junkyard, and I just want to make sure they're going to fit. Okay, bye. And that was my conversation. And, I mean, I want to help people. I like to help them out. I don't understand why people call me to ask me questions or ask advice, and then they actually talk over you. They're like, hey, Ken, this is blah, 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 and I want to ask you this question about this. And as soon as you start answering the question, they're talking, but, blah, 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 blah. And then you try to, okay, you wait for them to finish talking. Then you try to talk again, but, they're interrupting you again. And you're like, why do you need me? Like, you're talking to yourself right now. So here's a tip. When you call somebody for advice, actually stop talking while they're talking. And if you don't want to do that, then don't call them for advice. Okay? And if they sell an item, it's kind of rude to call them and ask them for advice about buying an item from somebody else that's exactly the same one as they sell. Okay? I mean, I understand if you've already bought something and you didn't know about them or whatever, but if you know about somebody and you're bought a part from another supplier, and then you call me up, you're taking up my time, right? My expertise, and I am warranting or helping out with somebody else's sale, right? That's taking money away from me. Okay. Not only that, then a lot of times those people don't ever do anything. They don't tip you. They don't. You never hear from them again. They just want you to bail them out real quick because they can't get the other people on the phone. Okay, that's extremely rude. Don't do that to me, please, guys. I only have so much time in a day. I want to try to help people as much as I can. Okay, okay, Jack. I thought you meant sump, so no problems. But yeah, I mean, it's just. This is how you deal with when you have somebody that's trying to help you. I'm only one person. I'm here. I'm filling out orders. I'm talking to people on the phone. I'm doing emails. I'm doing videos. I'm doing car repairs for people. All this stuff. Okay? I don't know how I do all this stuff. But, part of that is, and I'm helping you guys out. Okay? But on your side, you guys have to understand this is what's happening here. You're not calling a 1-800 number where there's like 50 guys there and they're all like, hello, sir, how can I help you? No, you're talking to one person. Okay. So, try to keep that in mind. All right. So, we got another guy on here. I think it's Billy Shepard, right? Camp Run Amok. I think that's Billy. He's asking about power steering hoses. Do you have the OE and do you sell all 3 hoses? Right now, we don't have the OE available. I would have to check into it for you. We get a lot of stuff from Volkswagen Classic Parts. I'm pretty sure they do have OE hoses still available. On the low pressure side for the power steering, you can usually get away with making a new hose. What I've done is use the old end, because usually they're fine, the banjo fitting, cut the collar off, and then you can put a new hose on it and just clamp it on there. It's a low pressure, so it's not a big deal. On the high pressure side, I would recommend getting an OE hose. I think they're in the $400 range for the hose that goes between the pump and the metal lines, which is expensive. But the problem is, like Go Westy makes a hose that they sell. It's a lot cheaper. I could make one and sell it way cheaper. But here's the problem. When it has a restrictor in it. Okay, the original one has a restrictor in the middle. It's hard to see it. There's a sheath that goes around the outside of the high pressure hose in the engine bay. You would have to cut that back with a razor knife to see the restrictor. It's in the center. That restrictor keeps the pump from whining. Okay, it keeps the pump from making noise. So if you just like I took the ends, go to a shop, have them make a new hose. Okay, and they just reuse the ends, or they use new ends, or whatever. You put that on your van, it's going to whine like crazy, and it's going to drive you crazy. It's going to sound like bumblebees are back there. trying to get into your motor or something like that. So, you know, as long as you can still get that OE hose, I would recommend getting it. The aftermarket hoses are going to disappoint you. And even Go Westy on their site, when you go to buy it, it says it's going to make a noise and a racket. Okay, and guess what? They're right. And then it's going to drive you crazy. So that's my advice on power steering hoses. All right, guys. So do we have any other questions here today? So we talked about these mirrors. Like I said, if you're sick of your mirrors flopping all around, definitely go to the to our site, buy a nice set of these Jopex mirrors. They are, I think, $29 each, maybe less. I can't remember exactly the price on them. And they're good quality ones. They should last you for a while. Of course, you can always try to go get a set of the powered ones. I mean, they're nice because they don't move at all. The glass actually moves. And the only weird part about them is they have an extra mount at the bottom, like a third mount. You would have to kind of do some modifications to get them on a non-power van, but they would work. Okay, so that's another way to go. All right, and I actually right now I'm parting out a 91 GL Vanagon. If anybody needs some parts off of that, right now I was supplying a guy, Fran Murphy, who might be on here watching. He said he was going to watch today with us. He had an engine fire and needed everything basically on top of the engine that was plastic, got melted. So again, guys, definitely replace your fuel lines because that's what happened in that situation. Thankfully, he saved the van and he didn't get hurt. But you know, I've already sold all that stuff, but we have some other stuff. It was actually a good running van. It got into a front end collision on the driver's side, front nose. But besides that, the rest of the van is pretty nice condition. So if you need interior parts, if you need exterior stuff, it's got the fiberglass side cladding that's actually in pretty good shape. The front back bumper are junk. Okay, all right, now I got a guy, Blackhawk, says got the mirrors on the van, working good. Okay, has a question about odometer repair. It has never worked. Okay, so usually what I do is send them out. Okay, send them out and have them repaired. That's the best way I found. You know, there's a guy I think in Virginia that sells like this little tiny gear, and you can put it on and try to try to get that going, but I haven't had much luck. I've tried repairing that gear in the past. I haven't tried his gear. I can't say anything towards his thing, but I've tried fixing the gear on there. I've tried pushing it in there, and like it's not just the gear. There's like this shaft that goes through. Like you'll see a lot of times when people's odometer goes bad, all the numbers start going like this. They're like on this weird angle, and so I usually send it to a Speedo shop. There actually is, I think, a link on our site to getting it repaired. I think it is on there. It's not cheap, but they go through it and fix everything that needs to be fixing. It's more like a rebuild. Okay, so Billy Shepard says he needs everything to put big brakes on his 85. And, you know, we can help you out with that. I'm not to the point of ripping the front spindles and stuff off, but it's going to get to that point. Okay, soon. So as far as Blackhawk, I would say, you know, get in contact with us. We can get your speedometer rebuilt. That's the best way to fix it. And then hopefully that'll help, you know, in the future. I know you're renting because it says Aloha, so I don't know if this is Heather or not, but if you're renting a van, you definitely want to know your mileage and keep track of all that stuff. All right, so Daniel says he had a coolant backup. He had a pressure test and was losing 3 PSI. Okay, in 15 minutes of time frame. It was determined coolant was leaking into the heads and van needed head gasket. Is this a common problem? Unfortunately, yes. Okay, I mean, I had this Country Homes camper that's here. It had a rebuilt engine at 80,000 miles, and the lady would come here and she would complain about it overheating. Okay, it was overheating. It would be sitting somewhere and everything would be fine, and then it seemed like it would just blow off pressure, that kind of thing. So finally I said, you know, I really feel like I did a test on the coolant. and it was one of those tests where the coolant had this stuff that changes color. Okay, that's my test. I try to do that to determine if it is having a combustion gas leak into the coolant. And it did change color. I said, this thing has got a bad head gasket. She's like, well, the motor is not that old. It's only got like maybe 20,000 miles on it max. I said, well, it's definitely got a problem. So we pulled the heads off. They were new AMC heads, like relatively new heads. The head gaskets looked new and everything when I took it apart. But when they put the heads on, they chopped one of the green O-rings that goes at the top of the cylinder. It got chopped, and it was actually just sitting there on top of the cylinder like a little shriveled up snake. It was just sitting on there and basically showing me here's what it was. So, you know, if you have one of your head gaskets at the top of the cylinder that gets compromised, sometimes it's due to a slight overheat situation. You know, sometimes people will have like the alternator belt snap, and it'll hit a coolant hose, and it'll cause like a little chain reaction of stuff happening. That can cause you to blow one of your internal cylinder head gaskets. Okay, it sounds like Daniel, he's possibly having a problem where they're saying he's losing it into the cooling, into the cylinders or something. I mean, it's possible. It's possible. And usually when you go to take it apart, you'll see something going on. Like you might see that one particular cylinder. I had another one that was like that, blue on one cylinder. That one, when I went to take it apart, that one cylinder was stuck to the head because where it was like pushing coolant through there, it was making like super corrosion right there, and it was froze to the head. So, unfortunately, head gaskets are a problem. Most people know about that on the Vanagon before they even buy it. There's a lot of information online about the head gaskets. And they were a problem from the beginning. Back when they first came out, they had problems because they had put this coolant into the engine. Apparently that was causing corrosion, and they had to do a lot of recalls at the dealership on that back in the 80s and the early 90s. I even have bought vans. They have like this detailed thing of where they changed the head gasket, and then they had another problem before it got to 100,000 miles. And Volkswagen had like a class action lawsuit on the heads, and had to deal with that. So, yep. So Dan asks, exhaust is leaking into the coolant. Is the van okay to drive for short periods? The answer is unfortunately no. Okay, here's what's happening. The combustion gases are going into the coolant. It is changing the coolant, the chemical composition of the coolant, into an acid. Okay, so now your coolant is turning super acidic, and it's going to attack all of your internal cooling system parts from the inside. Okay, so now the more you drive it, the more acidic it's going to get. It's eating your radiator, it's eating your heater cores, it's eating the cylinder heads, it's eating everything. Okay, so you really want to deal with it as soon as you can. I would not continue to drive it in that condition, because it's just going to cause you, it's going to cost you a lot of money. You should definitely try to not continue to drive it with that combustion leak. Now, Billy was saying that, bars leak. Okay, if you have an external leak, that's a totally different problem, and they have those as well. Okay, so say in the wintertime, a lot of Vanagons have a little drip, and people will see that in their garage on the floor, or they'll see that coolant drip on the floor in the winter because it's really cold, everything's contracting, and you have a little coolant drip. Okay, but then in the spring and the summer, it's fine, it doesn't even leak. Okay, so what's happening, it's really just because of this extreme contraction and whatnot in the wintertime. And so I would usually put in some bars leak or K-Seal or something like that. And I've had people, really poo-poo that idea. They say, oh, that's going to gum up your cooling system, it's going to destroy your cooling system and gum up all your radiators and all your stuff. All right, I'll tell you a story. I got a 91 Vanagon that had 300,000 miles on it when I got it. Actually, I had 275. Okay, 275 was a 91, and the guy was the original owner. And he said, I've never did head gaskets on it. I said, wow, really? And he's like, it's original motor. And I bought it from Volkswagen. So I said, how did you do that? He's like, after the first year, every year I would put in a thing of bars leak into the cooling system, and it kept it from really leaking. Okay, and so after I got it at 275,000 miles, I would do the same thing. Every year I would put in a thing of bars leak, and the motor continued to 300,000 miles with no real issues. You know, I would get a small leak in the winter and put in the bars leak, and it would stop it. Okay. After 300,000 miles, I decided, you know what? I want to use this fan. I want to drive it long trips and stuff like that. I took the motor out and put in a rebuilt engine. And you know what? That motor was still in good condition, the one we pulled out, because the bars leak was keeping it from leaking past the head gaskets and having what they call creeping corrosion. It was keeping the heads from corroding worse. And so, and it never had any ill effects on the cooling system that I could see. Actually, the long coolant pipes that were plastic, the ends of them were great. There was no problem there. And also the radiator was still original. That was great. The heater core was original. That was fine. Everything was still doing great. So, you know, all the negative effects people talk about using bars leak, I never experienced it on that van. And that van had been having bars leak put into it for a really long time, like yearly, basically. And also it had, you know, lasted one of the longest lasting engines that I even know about. You know, usually they're good for 150,000 miles or so, and then stuff starts wearing out. It did have some low oil pressure, but that was the worst thing that was happening with it. So yeah, Jack's saying, you know, deep sump. He's asking about, like I said, I really feel like they are out there, I guess. I've seen them, but maybe a Porsche supplier. There's a Porsche place in Atlanta, Georgia that has a lot of stuff for the 914 Porsche. That's what I would look for. The only bad part I would say about using a sump jack would be, you know, that it's going to stick down. Like usually I've seen them, they bolt to the bottom of your base, and it's going to stick down, and I don't know how great that's going to be on a Vanagon application. You know, having something stick down below where it should, and then you have like speed bumps and things like that, could definitely cause some issues. All right, so my advice on heads is if you have like small leaks that are at the head gasket and it's in the wintertime, you can definitely add a little bit of bars leak. You can add some K-Seal. That's a Napa, something they sell at Napa. I've definitely used them. For people that poo-poo that idea, actually, Alfa Romeo had a head leak problem. They had a factory repair, which was a little bottle of bars leak type stuff that you poured in there. Also, Subaru, the holy grail of, you know, the opposed engine, the holy grail of the opposed engine, Subaru. They have head gasket problems. And guess what their fix is? They have a Subaru approved bars leak type product that you pour into your Subaru motor. And I know some people are enamored with that, and they, oh, we'll put that into our water boxer. Okay, that's fine. Okay, but guess what? It's basically bars leak. You know, glorified bars leak that you're spending extra money on because it says Subaru on it. Okay, so if you have an internal leak like Dan's talking about, though, it's not going to help you out. Okay, you're pretty much looking at a mechanical repair, because there's, you know, how the bars leak works. Has these little tiny balls or something, like little pieces of something. It goes to that hole, that leak, and then as it's exposed to air, it starts drying and expanding and plugs the hole. When you have a combustion leak into the cooling system like Dan's talking about, there's really no way that can happen, because now the combustion gases are pushing their way into this cooling system. It would basically be pushing that material out of the way. Okay, and it wouldn't actually be able to flow out that way. It would only flow in. So I have had a little bit of luck, though, with another type of sealer but I don't know if I would really recommend it or not. They have what they call this ceramic block sealer. I've used that before for cracked heads. When I first started, like a long time ago, I tried it. I wanted to see what would happen. So cracked heads, and what you do is you completely drain the cooling system. You put in this ceramic block sealer. I think the kind that we bought was called Moroso, but they can also have it in speed shops. I think the last one I bought said KW on it, which is funny because that's my initials. I hear people outside, shipping people, so you might hear a door knock in a minute, but I'm going to ignore them. So this stuff, you would drain your coolant completely. You would put in straight water. Then you would put in this ceramic block sealer. Then you would run the motor for, you have to bleed it and everything. So, I mean, it's a little bit of a process. Then you would run the motor for so much, like 20 minutes, half an hour, and drive around a little bit. Then you're actually supposed to drain all that back out because now it's, you know, it's water. And you're not supposed to have that straight water in there. It's corrosive, or it can be. And you let it sit overnight, and it dries. And then the next day, you put back your coolant back in, you rebleed everything. And it actually worked pretty good. It's expensive, okay? For a bottle of that, I think it was $25. So it's expensive. And it worked. I put it into this van I bought. The second van I ever bought had a problem with coolant going, you know, out the tailpipe. Like it started doing the white smoke, and it smelled like antifreeze. And so we tried this, and then we figured, hey, you know what? It can't hurt anything. And it actually worked. It sealed that coolant leak pretty quickly, so we didn't have coolant going out of the tailpipe any longer. And it worked really well. And then I actually sold the motor to another guy. I told him what happened. I told him, you know, it probably needs heads because there was this crack and it was like going out the tailpipe. And he told me, he said he pulled the motor, he pulled the heads apart, and he said, I don't know how that sealant was working, but man, it was doing a great job because those heads were extremely damaged by someone that didn't know what they were doing, and they did the head gaskets the last time. And that's what the leak was. It was because they had damaged the heads, I guess around where they sealed at the top. And he said that Moroso ceramic block sealer had just sealed that completely. And he definitely recommended it. So, you know, Dan, if you're real desperate and you're saying, I don't want to pull the heads, you could try that ceramic block sealer. I haven't actually tried it for the combustion leak, but it's actually supposed to work for that, I believe. So maybe that's something to check into. If I can find a link to where it is, there's probably someone on Amazon. I will put it into the description. All right, guys, we got about 10 minutes left. So I want to get you guys, it looks like we've got about maybe 14 people on here. That's great. Welcome to the channel. If you're here from another country, please let me know. I'd be glad to give you guys a shout out. Like I said, you know, you can donate to us through the chat if you want, if we've helped you out with some of our questions that we've answered. Or you can donate to us through PayPal, which is in our description link, and we would definitely appreciate it. Okay, we definitely appreciate all the donations, and you know, it just helps us be able to do this. You know, this takes extra time out of my week every week. This week, you know, we had some sad news today when we had a friend of ours son commit suicide. Okay, and that was very disturbing. I got that news about 2 hours ago, and so we rushed over to our friend's house. We sat and talked with them and just tried to like kind of console them, let them know they're in our thoughts and our prayers. And you know, it's stuff like that that's going on, but yet, you know, we're still here for you guys. So, you know, when somebody's here for you guys, you know, definitely let them know you appreciate it. And I know you guys do appreciate it. I know a lot of you guys, like Billy, he definitely buys stuff from us all the time. And like Mike Haneyes, I don't know if he's on tonight, but he's always giving me some text messages of his adventures that he's doing with his Vanagons. He was actually sending me a link this morning to one down in Ocean City, which is not far from me. guy has one on Craigslist for sale that is a ball stick conversion that he did, and he's actually has a ball stick engine in there. He's got a transmission, rebuilt transmission, and he's trying to sell the van for like $13,000. I mean, just those two things alone is worth $13,000. But you know, so I know a lot of you guys appreciate it. I know a lot of you guys have donated in the past. I definitely appreciate it. But you know, we're here for you. You got to be here for us. And you know, anything that's done, like I said, we will definitely let you guys know that we appreciate it. Okay, so is there any more questions before we close it down today? We got 8 minutes, but if there's no more questions, now I did a video today. You guys should check out if you haven't checked it out yet, about disabling the oil buzzer in the later model vans. Again, Heather from Maui Camper Rentals asked us about that. She was having a problem with this one van that was buzzing, and she said, you know, I just lower all the windows and just drive faster, and it drowns it out. I don't know. I always hated that buzzer. It drove me crazy, and it has lots of false alarms and things. But so I kind of show you, if you have a later model van that has that, how to disable it so that you can get some peace of mind. I would definitely recommend, if you're disabling it, I would not do that without having an oil pressure gauge installed. And we have a video about how to do that. There's a little write-up on our site about how to do a cheapy one, if you want to just do a cheapy weepy, whatever. But you want to be able to see what your oil pressure is if you don't have the warning system. Okay, the warning system is there to warn you. If you disable it, you do so at your own risk and peril. Okay, so you know, I don't want somebody sending me a letter saying, you told me I could do this and now my motor blew up. You know, I told you could do it, but you have to have responsibility in, you have another way to, you know, check to see that things aren't going to be destroyed. Okay. All right. So take a look at that video when you guys get a chance. I appreciate you guys coming out today and just hanging out with us. I'm trying to think of anything else that's going on. Like I said, I always try to put in a plug-in for Vanagon.com. Also, Vanagon Owners Group on Facebook. Okay, let me just take you to some of these things here real quick fast. If you guys don't know about Vanagon Owners Group on Facebook, that is definitely something you guys should check out. Vanagon Owners Group is basically the descendant, or what I'm going to say, of the Vanagon list. Okay, so go on Vanagon Owners Group on Facebook so you can see this horrible nightmare of somebody's South African grill kit Vanagon getting smashed. But you know, it's a good group. These guys try to help each other out, and definitely check them out if you get a chance. Join up, and you can, you know, become friends with everybody on there. Okay, and you know, you can just kind of help each other. That's what the whole Vanagon community is about, is helping each other out, right? And so there's lots of good information on there. There's lots of people that are helping each other on the Vanagon Owners Group. If you're in my area here, there is New Jersey Vanagons. I would recommend them. I've tried to make sure these guys are on here, and you can, you know, check them out. They're, you know, New Jersey guys, so you gotta love that, like us. And again, they try to help each other out. Now, Billy's saying, make sure you go see Heather in Maui when you go. Yeah, we talked about her. I gave her a shout out earlier. So, I mean, hopefully you guys will go check out Heather's thing. And of course, there's our own site on Facebook as well, Vanagon.com. On Facebook, please come out and like there. And there's even a new section to the site where you can see some parts that we sell on here. Of course, these are our LED headlights that we just did a video about last week and posted it on our site. And we even have our Vanagon repair shop list on here as well. So lots of good information on our Vanagon Facebook page. Yeah, so you can see this where it says shop down here. you can actually see items that we've been adjusting in our shop because apparently they become the first ones that that pop up. Okay, so check out our Facebook page as well, and just continue to do some likes for us here on YouTube. I know a lot of you guys again are going to be watching tomorrow morning. Oh my gosh, what is going on? Did we lose it? It says the stream is okay. Oh, okay, because we're on this. Okay, so let me stop sharing, go back to the camera. I know a lot of you guys like to watch this on Saturday morning. It's kind of like your Saturday morning cartoons. So, if you're watching on Saturday morning, and again, if you say, well, that stuff that Ken said is really helping me out, okay, you should definitely, you should definitely give us a like. That would be nice. You give us a subscribe. You could give us a donation or whatever. Any of that stuff helps us out. Okay, as I've said in the past, if you're trying to make it on YouTube, you are basically trying to appeal to a mass audience. Okay, so you are trying to get millions of views. You are trying to make videos that gets hundreds of thousands or millions of views. You're trying to make those kind of videos every week, like 3 or 4 times a week. Some guys I know make them several times a day, but they're appealing to a mass audience. For us, our audience right now is 14 people. Okay, that's good. I'm fine with that. I don't need to have this be millions of people because guess what? There's not millions of Vanagons out there. Okay, there never was. The Vanagon group is small, but it still lives on because people help each other out. Okay, so that's what I got for you guys today. Thank you guys for coming out. Thanks for Blackhawk, Camp Runamuck, Jack Powlis, Dan Peckham, and all you guys being here and helping us out here with our stream, and even Charles Ott and Carl B. Thank you guys for being here, and Texas Boys. Of course, they're fixing to have, I think they're not going to have their live stream this week because one of them is traveling. So just prayers and good wishes to him that he can make it home safely. But thank you guys for coming out and joining us. Hope you enjoyed it. And as well, guys, get more smiles per gallon with your Vanagon. Have a great weekend. Peace out.